Hi, I'm a tutor for mathsandenglish.net, and today we're looking at introducing powers and roots. We'll cover them one at a time, so we're going to start with powers. So if you haven't heard of it before, what is a power? What does that mean? So a power is something that indicates that you multiply a number by itself a certain number of times. You'll see it written down like this, where x will be a number and n will be another number that's written just to the top right of your first number. So x, the big number in this case, is the number that you will be multiplying. It's the number that you will be doing anything to. And the n is how many times you multiply it by itself. So if it was x to the power of 2, that's how we say that something has that little number above it. X to the power of 2 would mean x times x. X to the power of 3 would be x times x times x. An example might help this make more sense. So just to note that when we write something to the power of 2, we often say that it's squared, and something to the power of 3 often means that it's cubed. So we'll start with 2 to the power of 2, or 2 squared. So the little number to the top right is a 2, which means that you will write down your big number twice. So we have 2 times 2. That's what that represents, and that means that 2 squared is the same as 4. We also have 4 cubed in this case. So the little number is 3. So we write it down 3 times, 4 times 4 times 4, which gives us an answer of 64. Now you try. I've written down 5 to the power of 3 here, so pause the video and try and figure out what that would represent. If you've come back for the answer, 5 to the power of 3, or 5 cubed, is 125. So we've looked at powers now, we're hopefully happy with those. Next we need to look at roots. So a root is the reverse of a power. So when we have powers, we have our original number that we are then multiplying by itself a certain number of times to get to an answer. A root will take our answer and help us work backwards to work out what number was multiplied by itself to get to our number. So these will often be written down like this, where you will have a number underneath this sort of symbol, and there will sometimes be another number where n is in this diagram. So x represents the number that you're starting with, the number that you're working with, to work back to work out what your original number was to the power of n. So n is only sometimes written down. Sometimes there's no number there, and if there's no number, that means that the number that you're trying to work out was squared. So n represents 2 if there is no n. However, if it's anything other than 2, it will be written there. So if it was a number that was cubed, there will be a 3 written down in the position of n in this image. We'll look at some examples to try and clarify this further. So we have 3 squared equals 9 written here. So based on what we looked at earlier with powers, you should hopefully know that 3 squared, or 3 to the power of 2, means 3 times 3, so you should hopefully understand how that gets us to 9. But now that we've introduced roots, the square root, so there's no number written down over here, so we know that that must represent a 2. So the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 would be squared to get to 9. So hopefully you can see how it's the reverse of what you would expect before. Or we have the square root of 49. So what number was multiplied by itself to get to 49? You can sometimes work this out just by knowing it, and sometimes you can work it out by trial and error, by testing a few numbers and seeing which one gives you that desired answer. So the square root of 49 is 7. And just to make sure it's super clear, you could reverse this and you could write 7 squared, and that would give you 49. Now you have a go. I've written down the cube root of 27 down here. Have a go at working out what the answer to that could be. If you pause the video and come back for the answer, what you should have gotten is 3. Because 3 cubed would give you 27. 3 times 3 gives you 9. And then 9 times 3 gives you 27. Next lesson, we're going to take a look at terminating decimals.